남전무 친형님이시다. 인사드려.
그쪽 친구분들이요. 다 당신 때문에 죽은 거예요.
나 때문에 시작됐으니까.
In 2010, Seoul, tensions exploded as Korean gangsters clashed with the Yakuza over control of the streets. The Yakuza boss didn't see them as a real threat, his confidence backed by Kyoto, a ruthless enforcer who had already crushed several locals without breaking a sweat. But then, Gi Jun appeared. Calm, precise. He stepped forward, gave a respectful bow to both sides, and then stepped into the fight. Kyoto struck hard, but Gi Jun was faster, sharper. Every hit returned with brutal precision. He fought without hesitation, pushing forward with unshaken focus until Kyoto hit the ground. The Yakuza boss froze. This wasn't supposed to happen. His top man had just been defeated, clean and fast. A decade later, old rivalries resurfaced. Jun gang boss Lee Ju-won met in secret with Bongsan gang leader Gu Bong-sun. It had been years since they last spoke. Now Bong-sun came with a problem. His own son, Jun Mo, had gone too far. Driven by a business feud, Jun Mo had crossed a dangerous line. He'd hired a foreign hitman to take out a corporate rival named Cha. Bong-sun never expected his son to resort to murder. At first, Ju-won refused. He didn't want anything to do with the Bongsan gang's mess. Bong-sun's problem was his own to fix. But Bong-sun wasn't giving up. He admitted he couldn't trust his own men to handle the issue quietly, and if word got out, it would ruin his son. In return for Ju-won's help, he offered something valuable: full support to end the land disputes that had been slowing Ju-won's expansion plans. The next day, Ju-won met with Gizuk, his trusted right-hand man and likely successor. Ju-won gave a clear order: take care of Jun Mo, shut the job down. Gizuk didn't like it. He was already looking to step away from the business, not dive into another gang's problems. But as second-in-command, he couldn't refuse. On the way to the Crow Hotel, Gizuk's driver, Haebom, filled him in. Jun Mo wasn't just reckless, he was trouble. Known for his bad behavior inside the gang and his father's company, Jun Mo had built a reputation no one wanted to deal with. That reputation likely pushed him to hire outside killers to fix his problems fast. At the hotel, Gizuk walked in with purpose. Jun Mo was already there, surrounded by his men. Without wasting time, Gizuk laid it all out: call off the hit, send the foreign assassin away. And just to make things clear, he told everyone exactly why he was there. Jun Mo's own father had asked Ju-won for help. Gizuk didn't hold back. He called Jun Mo out, accusing him of being a failure and a disgrace. The words hit hard. Jun Mo, furious, fired back by digging into old wounds, bringing up Gi Jun, Gizuk's older brother, whose fall from grace had shaken the underworld 10 years earlier. Back then, Ju-won and Bong-sun had shown mercy, sparing Gi Jun's life but crippling him by cutting his Achilles tendon. Mocking that past, Jun Mo limped in front of Gizuk, trying to provoke a reaction. But Gizuk didn't flinch. Instead, he struck back with a slap, sharp, sudden, and public. Jun Mo stood there, humiliated in front of his crew. Later that night, Gizuk paid a visit to Gi Jun, who now lived quietly at a remote campsite. Their reunion was stiff. They hadn't spoken in 6 years. Gizuk shared the news. Ju-won wanted him to take over. Gi Jun saw it as a chance, but Gizuk didn't. He was tired, ready to walk away from the life, just like his brother had. As he turned to leave, Gi Jun stopped him, asking if something was bothering him. Gizuk gave a quiet laugh, moved by the simple concern. But instead of heading home, Gizuk returned to the office. He wanted to clear his mind with some late work. Soon after he arrived, something felt off. The place was too quiet, suspicious. He wanted to check the basement parking area. Only a stray cat was there, the same one he'd seen before, always digging through trash. He knelt to feed it. That's when the attack came. A sudden strike from behind. But Gizuk moved fast, dodging just in time and turning to face the threat. At one moment, Gizuk slammed his attacker against the wall, demanding answers. But the man, Gi Jun, stayed silent and fought back. Then came the twist. Gi Jun wasn't alone. Within seconds, more men appeared from the shadows, surrounding Gizuk on all sides. Outnumbered but not outmatched, Gizuk didn't back down. What followed was a brutal display of skill. He fought with precision and force, taking each man down one by one. Gi Jun was disarmed in moments. Gizuk had the upper hand and the chance to finish him, but chose not to. He turned to walk away. That's when it happened. Gizuk let his guard down. Just for a second, Gi Jun struck from behind, burying a blade into him. The blow was fatal. News of Gizuk's death sent shockwaves through both gangs. No one felt it more than Haebom, his loyal driver. At the funeral, grief hung in the air. Even Ju-won and Bong-sun stood in silence. Jun Mo came too, his face unreadable, but something in his eyes hinted at quiet satisfaction, still clinging to the sting of public shame Gizuk had dealt him days earlier. Outside the service, tensions flared. Song Cheol from the Jun group confronted Chun-suk from Bong-san, pointing fingers. He believed Bong-san was behind the killing. Chun-suk fired back, offended and angry. He claimed Gizuk died in a street fight with a group of punks, nothing more. And despite being on opposite sides now, Chun-suk reminded him that he had once been Jun too, and that Gizuk had been his friend. The heated exchange was suddenly interrupted when Song Cheol spotted someone unexpected, Lee Gum's son, Ju-won's son, stepping in to attend the funeral. Acting fast, Song Cheol tried to block him. Ju-won had made one thing clear. His son was to stay away from anything tied to the Jun group. No exceptions. Then, another figure arrived, Gi Jun. As he entered, the mood shifted. Even Song Cheol lowered his head in respect. Inside the cremation chamber, Gi Jun stood still, staring at his brother's lifeless body. The wound was clear, a knife to the neck. Song Cheol gave his report, claiming it was just a street fight gone wrong. But Gi Jun didn't buy it. Something about it didn't sit right. He sensed there was more behind his brother's death. Without wasting time, Gi Jun went straight to the top. Ju-won and Bong-sun were locked in a private meeting, already planning who would take Gizuk's place as the next leader. Gi Jun broke in and reminded them of the vow they made to him 11 years ago. They had ordered him to cut all ties, told him to disappear and live like he never existed in their world. And he did. He vanished, just as they asked. But Gizuk's death shattered the old rules. For Gi Jun, it wasn't just a loss, it was a betrayal. He reminded Ju-won and Bong-sun of the promise they once made. Gizuk would always be protected. But now his brother was gone, and no one had answers. With cold resolve, Gi Jun made it clear he would dig until he found the truth, no matter what it took. And in that moment, something shifted. The codes, the alliances, the lies, none of it could hold back what was coming next. Because from this point forward, there would be no turning back. Because this is Mercy for None. As he turned to leave, Haebom stepped forward. Loyal to the end, he introduced himself as Gizuk's driver and assistant. He promised to handle the funeral properly and make sure Gizuk was honored with respect. Later, Gi Jun visited his brother's apartment, hoping to find clues. But all he uncovered were quiet remnants of a life cut short. Books about camping businesses, an old photo, and a gift box with a jacket Gizuk had planned to give him for his birthday. That moment hit hard. The only family Gi Jun had left was gone for good. The next day, Gi Jun walked into the police station, demanding to see Gi Jun, the man who had confessed to the killing. Detective Suk-yoon blocked him, citing protocol that barred victim families from contacting suspects during an open case. But Gi Jun stood his ground. Calm, relentless. His presence alone was enough to make Suk-yoon back down. Shortly after, Gi Jun was brought into the archives room, Gi Jun was already there, waiting. When Hui-chan learned that Gi Jun was the victim's brother, he showed no fear. He admitted to killing Gizuk, claiming he couldn't stand being looked down on. But he offered no real answers. Gi Jun saw through him. With cold warning, he vowed to hunt down every person involved in the ambush that night. He even threatened Hui-chan's family. But Hui-chan didn't flinch. With a twisted grin, he told Gi Jun to go ahead. He hated his parents anyway. They had abandoned him and his younger brother long ago. That night, Gi Jun tracked down Hui-cheol, the younger brother, at an internet cafe. But it wasn't a quiet meeting. Hui-chan's friends had followed him there. They believed they had cornered him. But they were wrong. Even with a limp, Gi Jun was deadly. He struck with speed and precision, cutting them down one by one. No wasted movement. No hesitation. The gang that once mocked him now begged for mercy, but Gi Jun gave none. He killed them all without blinking. Then came a flashback, revealing the moment Gizuk was stabbed. Even after the hit, he fought back, refusing to fall easily. But once Hui-chan and the others ran, Gizuk staggered toward his office, only to freeze. Behind a glass door, someone stood waiting. Elsewhere, Ju-won met privately with a man named Young Do. His message was simple: find out the truth behind Gizuk's death. Like Gi Jun, Ju-won didn't believe it was just a street brawl. He suspected something more calculated, something done by a professional. The next day, Deputy Chief Prosecutor Min-sung held a high-level meeting on the case. What stood out was the pattern. Gizuk's murder had clear ties to a killing from years ago, the death of Oh Song-won, son of Chairman Oh and heir to the Byum-yongdong gang. Back then, Ju-won and Bong-sun were top lieutenants under Chairman Oh. But they turned on him, took out his son, and split the gang's power in two, creating the Ju-won and Bong-sun factions. Now, Min-sung suspected history might be repeating itself. Gizuk's death could be the start of another internal power shift, just like before. After the briefing, he cleared the room, except for one person, Lee Gum-sun, Ju-won's son. That's when the twist landed. Gum-sun wasn't just Ju-won's estranged child. He was a prosecutor. And Min-sung clearly knew everything. The family history, the ban from gang affairs, and the silence that had followed. Though Min-sung acknowledged Gum-sun's effort to rise through the ranks as a prosecutor, but made one thing clear. Hard work wasn't enough. Without picking a side, Gum-sun would stay stuck. Then came the offer: take over the investigation into Gizuk's death. It was a fast track to promotion, but only if Gum-sun was willing to get his hands dirty. At the same time, Gi Jun was already making moves. Inside a police interrogation room, he played a chilling audio recording, Hui-cheol being held hostage. The message was clear: talk, or your brother pays the price. The pressure worked. Hui-chan finally broke. He revealed that the job came from a hidden online group known as the Graveyard. The Graveyard wasn't just a name, it was a network. A place where lost youths were pulled in, offered money in exchange for blood. Hui-chan said he didn't know who was behind it. All he got were basic details: the target's face and where to find him. Everything else was handled, including a defense lawyer named Yun, already in place before the job went south. Gi Jun wasted no time. He tracked down Yun, cornering her inside her own car. At first, she stayed quiet, but one look from Gi Jun was enough. Slowly, she began to talk. The truth was starting to crack open. It was revealed that the Graveyard wasn't just an online forum. It was a full-scale operation. A shadow network that connected criminals with desperate people willing to take the fall for a price. Clients would pay, and the Graveyard handled the rest, finding a substitute, staging the scene, planting evidence, and even pulling strings inside the courts. Many young delinquents joined not just for the cash, but to dodge military service, even if it meant serving time behind bars. Before Gi Jun left, Yun handed him a business card. She told him that if he wanted real answers, he'd find them at the address printed on it. That night, Gi Jun showed up at a company called In Clean. He asked for the man in charge, someone. But the staff tried to throw him out. That was a mistake. Fueled by rage, Gi Jun struck hard, taking them down without hesitation. Meanwhile, Song-won was in his car, heading home. When he got the call from Gi Jun, he froze. He knew exactly why Gi Jun had come. Panic set in. He turned to his driver, Yang Sik, asked how many men were still at the office, and gave the order, kill Gi Jun before it's too late. Moments later, Song-won's men launched their ambush, but it backfired. Gi Jun was already one step ahead. His reflexes were sharp, his focus locked in. Even against blades, he moved with speed and precision, overpowering the attackers with brutal efficiency. Soon after, Song-won arrived at the scene. Without a fight, he dropped to his knees. The message was clear. He knew he was caught. He admitted to taking the job without knowing the full details. By the time he realized the target was Gizuk, the money had already changed hands. Backing out wasn't an option. Gi Jun pushed for answers. At first, Song-won hesitated. But under pressure, he cracked. The name came out, Jun Mo. He was the one behind the hit. That was all Gi Jun needed. In that moment, his path was set. He would take down Jun Mo, even if it meant going head-to-head with the entire Bongsin gang. The next day, Chun-suk met Song-won to confirm the truth. At that moment, Song-won admitted without hesitation that Jun Mo was responsible. He revealed everything because he had no other option. Gi Jun wasn't just any threat. He was the one man no gangster ever wanted to cross, then or now. Elsewhere, Ju-won met with Bong-sun behind closed doors. He had uncovered the truth. Jun Mo was the one who ordered Gizuk's murder. Ju-won reminded Bong-sun of the pact they made after taking down the Byum-yongdong gang years ago. If either side broke the balance, there would be consequences, serious ones. Now, that time had come. Jun Mo had crossed the line by hiring Song-won to carry out the hit. Bong-sun was stunned. He never believed his own son could be behind something so reckless. Demanding proof, he got more than he bargained for. Ju-won revealed that Gi Jun had already confronted Song-won, who confessed everything. With tension rising, Ju-won urged Bong-sun to get control of Jun Mo before things spiraled further. The real problem now wasn't just the betrayal, it was Gi Jun. He was determined on avenge his brother. Then, without warning, Gi Jun entered the room. He looked both men in the eye and asked if they were part of Gizuk's death. Ju-won denied it and told him to stand down, promising the issue would be handled by their code. But Gi Jun wasn't interested in their rules. He made it clear he would settle this his way. Once Gi Jun walked out, the fear set in. Bong-sun turned to Ju-won in desperation. He begged him to stop Gi Jun, even if it meant killing him. Ju-won refused. Gi Jun was too dangerous, and stepping in meant walking into a storm. But then Bong-sun made an offer, the De Crow Hotel, one of his most valuable assets. That changed everything. Ju-won paused. The wheels were turning. That night, rage took over. Bong-sun stormed into Jun Mo's room and slapped him hard, again and again. He'd had enough of Jun Mo's pride, enough of his reckless choices. Killing Gizuk wasn't just a mistake, it was a disaster. And Jun Mo didn't even grasp the damage he'd done. Instead of remorse, he made excuses, blaming Gizuk for humiliating him. But Bong-sun snapped. He reminded Jun Mo that with the foolish life he'd lived, he should be used to humiliation by now. Still, as much as Jun Mo had failed him, he was Bong-sun's son. That bond ran deep. So Bong-sun gave him a warning. Do nothing without permission. He would protect Jun Mo, but only if the boy stayed in line. Meanwhile, Gi Jun was preparing for war. He met with an old ally, Byung-ho, now a baseball coach. Gi Jun had one request: build him a bat, just like the one he used back in the day. He was ready to crush anyone who stood in his way. Byung-ho agreed, and even handed over a custom leg brace to help Gi Jun move faster. Back at his home office, Ju-won was deep in discussion with Song Cheol. The stakes were rising, and Ju-won knew he had to make a call. He decided to side with Bong-sun. Going after Jun Mo would mean war with the Bongsin gang. and the cost could be too high. The Decro Hotel, the money, the power, he couldn't risk losing it all. So, he turned against Gi Jun, viewing him now as the greater threat. But what Ju Won didn't know was this: his own son, Gum's son, had planted a hidden recorder in the room. And now, he knew everything. Outside the building, Song Cheol crossed paths with Haebom, who had reached his breaking point. Furious, Haebom called out Ju Won's silence, demanding to know why nothing was being done to bring Gizuk's killer to justice. He told Song Cheol outright Jun Mo was behind it. But Song Cheol responded coldly. Ju Won already knew, and Jun Mo had been ordered to follow whatever choice was made from above. Haebom didn't buy it. He accused Song Cheol of dragging things out, hoping to take Gizuk's place as the next leader of the Jawon group. That accusation hit hard. Enraged, Song Cheol struck Haebom repeatedly. The beating stopped when Gum's son stepped in. With calm restraint, Gum's son said the violence had gone too far. But Song Cheol pushed back, warning him to stay out of matters he didn't understand. Then Gum's son dropped a shocking revelation, asking whether going to war with the Bongsan gang would cause even greater damage. Song Cheol froze. That sentence said it all. Gum's son had overheard everything. But without another word, Gum's son turned and walked off, wearing a faint smirk. Later, Haebom visited Gi Jun to deliver the message. Ju Won had made his choice. But Gi Jun wasn't surprised. He already knew. He told Haebom to go along with it. But then came something unexpected. Haebom made it clear he wasn't backing down. He wanted revenge just as much as Gi Jun did. For Gizuk, for loyalty, for justice. Moved by Haebom's loyalty, Gi Jun gave him a task: find Jun Mo. That night, Haebom met with Yoon and headed straight to the graveyard's headquarters. He submitted a nationwide request to locate Jun Mo. The system kicked in immediately. Within hours, the search alerts spread across the country through the graveyard app. It didn't take long. A courier found Jun Mo's location and posted it in the chat room. He was hiding at the Crow Hotel, and Gi Jun was already preparing to move in. Then the story jumped back in time. Ju Won had taken a call from Young Do, who delivered the full report on Gizuk's death. But Young Do didn't stop there. He pushed Ju Won to act, just like he did 11 years ago, when they crushed the Byum-Yongdong gang. This time, the choice was even bigger: make peace with Bongsan, or let Gi Jun tear the Bongsan gang apart and take control of everything. At the same moment, Gum's son, who had secretly tapped into the call, pulled out a file from his bag. His expression was heavy. Inside were official orders, documents that could bring down Bongsan and Jun Mo with arrest warrants and asset seizures. The decision now rested with him. Elsewhere, Bongsan paid a visit to Zhang Xin, a former hitman who had left the underworld behind to live as a pastor. Bongsan wanted him to take out Gi Jun, but Zhang Xin refused. He didn't hide it. He was afraid. Gi Jun wasn't just dangerous. He was on another level. Before walking away, Zhang Xin left Bongsan with a chilling thought. Gizuk wasn't killed by street thugs, but by a professional. That warning hit hard. Bongsan immediately ordered his assistant, Dong Kyung, to dig into the police force handling the case. Something didn't add up. He also told Dong Kyung to relocate Jun Mo to a safe house outside Seoul. Gi Jun was already closing in, and Bongsan knew time was running out. Later, Chun-suk showed up at the Crow Hotel to escort Jun Mo to safety. But Jun Mo refused to leave. He couldn't understand why everyone, including his own father, was so afraid of one man. As the argument dragged on, Dong Kyung snapped. He threatened to beat Jun Mo himself if he didn't move. But before anything else could happen, Gi Jun arrived. He wasted no time. Jun Mo's bodyguards were down in seconds. Chun-suk urged Jun Mo to run, but Jun Mo stood his ground. He wanted to see it for himself. Was Gi Jun really the monster everyone feared? Moments later, Chun-suk stepped in, trying to stop Gi Jun by bringing up their past. But it meant nothing. Gi Jun had been insulted, and that was enough. With no hesitation, he drove a brutal punch into Jun Mo's stomach, then grabbed him by the throat and started choking him, fully ready to end it. However, Dong Kyung rushed in just in time, pulling Jun Mo away. He ordered Chun Suk to get Jun Mo out while he stayed behind to fight Gi Jun himself. Dong Kyung was one of Bong Sin's top enforcers, but even he couldn't stand against Gi Jun. The legend still lived up to his name. As Dong Kyung held Gi Jun off, Chun Suk and Jun Mo escaped. Even Haebom, who had been tracking them closely, lost their trail. When Bong Sun got the call, relief washed over him. His son was alive. He immediately ordered Chun Suk to move Jun Mo to a secure location far outside the city and to tighten protection around him. Meanwhile, Song-won was getting ready to disappear. He packed up his office and planned to flee the country. But before he could move, Gi Jun showed up. Cold and direct, he gave Song-won one day to find Jun Mo or face the consequences. At the same time, Song Cheol, growing more suspicious of Gum Sun, broke into Ju-won's office. He searched every corner for the hidden device he suspected Gum Sun had planted, but came up empty. Still not satisfied, he turned on the room's old vinyl player. That's when he heard it. The sound came not from the player, but from Gum Sun's bedroom. The bug was real, and now Song Cheol knew exactly where it was. Shortly after, Song Cheol confronted Gum Sun outside his office, demanding to know why he had revealed the wiretap. Gum Sun stayed calm. He pointed out a simple truth: whether you're a prosecutor or a gangster, loyalty to the group always comes first. Gum Sun admitted he did everything for one reason: to protect his family's future. He feared that if Jun Mo died, it would trigger a full-blown war, one that would destroy everything his father had built. But at the same time, he saw an opening. If handled right, this conflict could wipe out the Bongsin gang and allow the Ji-won group to take full control. The next day, still shaken and curious, Jun Mo asked Chun Suk for the full story on Gi Jun. Chun Suk didn't hold back. Years ago, Gi Jun wasn't just respected, he was worshipped. Long before the Ji-won or Bongsin gangs even existed, Gi Jun was already a key figure in the underworld. Back then, the Myeongdong gang ruled the streets. Their leader, Chairman Oh, planned to expand into Japan and take down the Busan gangsters. But the Busan crew struck first, launching a surprise attack. The Myeongdong gang was on the brink of collapse until Gi Jun stepped in. Alone, he turned the tide. His fighting ability was unmatched. He didn't just stop the enemy, he crushed them. From that point forward, Ju-won and Bong Sun's influence exploded. Their rise was so fast that Chairman Oh began to consider handing over leadership. But his son, Sung-won, wasn't having it. He saw them as a threat and ordered their execution. What he didn't expect was betrayal from within. Sung-won leaked the plan to Ju-won and Bong Sun, giving them the upper hand. The result was swift. Sung-won was taken out. Chairman Oh, furious and convinced they were behind his son's death, summoned them to answer for it. Though they had no part in the killing, Bong Sun turned the tables, blaming everything on Ju-won. That moment of betrayal cut deep, leaving Ju-won to face the fallout alone. Meanwhile, Gi Jun had already battled his way through Chairman Oh's guards. Exhausted but still standing, he wasn't finished. One final opponent waited: Tae Hwan, Chairman Oh's personal bodyguard. Suspicious and ready for revenge, Tae Hwan accused Gi Jun of killing Sung-won. But Gi Jun didn't flinch. He gave no explanation, just prepared to fight. Soon after, Gi Jun reached Ju-won and Bong Sun. He set them free, and within a day, the two of them crushed Chairman Oh's empire. With Gi Jun clearing the path, they claimed everything. The Myeongdong gang was no more. In the present, Chun Suk laid it out for Jun Mo, the rule that kept both gangs in check. Anyone who disrupted the balance would face the consequences. Gi Jun had been the first to pay that price years ago, when his Achilles tendon was cut as punishment for stirring chaos. But Jun Mo didn't care. He brushed it off, still refusing to see Gi Jun as a real threat. Meanwhile, Byung-ho visited Gi Jun, urging him to stop. Taking on the entire Bongsan gang alone was death trap. He suggested reaching out to Ju Won for support. But Hae-bom quickly shut it down. He was furious. Ju Won already knew Jun Mo was behind Gizuk's death and told them to forget it. As if Gizuk's life meant nothing. Overwhelmed with rage, Gi Jun tried to break down a wall, shattered glass flying as he struck a window. But it wasn't enough. He wanted action. He picked up the phone and called Oker, the same hitman he once hired for another job. This time, the target was Gi Jun. Jun Mo told Chun-suk he would handle it himself. At the same time, Bong-sun got new information. The first person to find Gizuk's body was Suk-yoon, the detective leading the case. That detail didn't sit right. Suspicious, Bong-sun gave a new order, track down Suk-yoon and bring him in for questioning. Later that night, Chun-suk called Gi Jun to a rooftop. He begged him to let go of the revenge. Facing the entire Bongsan gang alone, he said, would only end in death. Still, he handed Gi Jun a file, Jun Mo's location. But there was a catch. It was a trap. Chun-suk had no choice but to play along. Jun Mo had threatened to kill him if he didn't. Not long after, Gi Jun arrived at an abandoned building. It was empty. No sign of Jun Mo. Then, out of the shadows, Oker and his partner, Anton, appeared. The ambush was on. The fight was fast and brutal. Blades swung, but Gi Jun moved like a machine, dodging, striking, staying 2 steps ahead. Little by little, he took control. With raw strength, sharp instincts, and years of battle experience, he tore through both men. In the end, they never stood a chance. After the fight, Gi Jun grabbed Oker's phone and made a call to Jun Mo. The message was clear. He was coming. Meanwhile, across town, Bong-sun sat down with Young Do in a quiet cafe. Desperate to protect his son, he asked for help stopping Gi Jun. Young Do hesitated. He didn't want to get involved. But Bong-sun laid down the warning. If Young Do and Ju Won stood by and let Gi Jun kill Jun Mo, he would have no choice but to start a war with the Jun group. After hearing that his assassins had failed, Jun Mo didn't waste time. He called in 2 more enforcers, In-suk and Hyung-jin, and offered them $1 billion to take out Gi Jun. Once they roughed up the guards and cleared the path, Jun Mo disappeared with them. When Chun-suk found out, he was furious. He tore into Jun Mo's crew, blaming them for letting him slip away. Then Jun Mo called. He was done hiding. He told Chun-suk he would eliminate Gi Jun himself and demanded to know where he was. Meanwhile, Gi Jun visited Dr. Lee, an old friend who had already heard the news. Dr. Lee offered his sympathy but focused on the more urgent matter, Gi Jun's condition. He didn't ask for permission. He just began treating his wounds, knowing Gi Jun wouldn't stop until his mission was done. Later, Gi Jun got a call from Byung-ho. He wanted to help take on the Bongsan gang. Gi Jun told him to stay out of it, but Byung-ho refused. He wasn't backing down. At that same moment, Jun Mo arrived at Byung-ho's place. He demanded that Byung-ho contact Gi Jun. But Byung-ho had no interest in playing along. He shut down the call and told Jun Mo to leave. He'd had enough of his arrogance and the way he looked down on everyone. Hearing this, Jun Mo snapped. Furious at being defied, he grabbed a nearby bat and started beating Byung-ho without mercy. But before things got worse, Chun-suk stormed in and stopped him. He knew the truth. Byung-ho was one of Gi Jun's closest allies. Killing him would only make things worse. But Chun-suk had reached his limit. Enraged, he grabbed Jun Mo by the throat and started choking him. All the rage came out. Gizuk's death, Byung-ho's blood, everything ruined because of Jun Mo's reckless choices. Then Hyung-jin stepped in. With his help, Jun Mo turned the tide, then brutally beat Chun-suk to death.
너 때문이야.
Afterward, Jun Mo picked up Byung-ho's phone and delivered the message himself. He told Gi Jun that all his friends were dead and dared him to come. He even sent his exact location, throwing down the final challenge. Elsewhere, Bong's son had taken action of his own. His men held Detective Suk-yoon captive in an abandoned building, demanding answers. Bong's son believed Suk-yoon had received inside information about the plan to kill Gizuk, and he wanted to know who leaked it. That night, Jun Mo fortified the safe house. He brought in gang members, trained fighters, and even private security. He promised them a massive payout if they could capture Gi Jun alive. But there was one rule: don't kill him. Jun Mo wanted that honor for himself. Not long after, Gi Jun arrived at the safe house. The moment he stepped inside, Jun Mo's men closed in. But Gi Jun came prepared, swinging the custom bat made by Jun Mo. With brutal precision, he tore through the group. Their confidence crumbled fast. Fear took over. Hyung Jin tried to rally the others, calling for an all-out attack. But it was no use. Gi Jun crushed them one after another. Surrounded and outnumbered, he didn't back down. If anything, his strikes only grew more brutal. Watching through security cameras, Jun Mo began to panic. He immediately gave the order: activate the private security team and kill Gi Jun. As the chaos escalated, a new threat entered the fight: Park, a massive enforcer with raw power. He knocked Gi Jun down several times. But each time, Gi Jun stood back up. Even as Park slammed him into the wall and tried to choke the life out of him, Gi Jun dug deep and turned the fight around. With everything he had, he killed Park. That was the breaking point. The rest of the thugs scattered in fear. In another part of the building, Jun Mo looked uneasy. He asked In-suk if Gi Jun could be stopped. In-suk replied with a smirk, saying it was possible, but only if the payment was doubled to 2 billion. Elsewhere, Suk-yoon, battered and barely conscious after a brutal beating, finally broke his silence. He revealed that he had recorded all phone calls on the night Gizuk was murdered. Bong's son listened to the audio, and his face went pale. He knew that voice. The truth hit him hard. Back at the safe house, Gi Jun pushed forward but was stopped in his tracks by In-suk. A former pro fighter, In-suk was fast, strong, and ruthless. Gi Jun, already drained from the battles before, struggled to keep up. He landed a few hits, but In-suk blocked them all with ease. The fight turned one-sided. Gi Jun was on the defensive, barely holding on. Then came the breaking point. In-suk slammed Gi Jun through a glass table and moved in for the kill. Watching the fight from a distance, Jun Mo saw his chance and regained his nerve. With a smug grin, he confessed it was him. He had ordered Gizuk's murder. That moment lit a fire in Gi Jun. Fueled by rage, he launched one last counterattack. He grabbed a shard of glass and drove it into In-suk's eye. Blinded and overwhelmed, In-suk lost control. Gi Jun didn't stop until he was dead. Now, Jun Mo was alone and terrified. He scrambled for his shotgun and fired, but missed. Gi Jun picked up his bat and struck back with brutal force. Blow after blow landed. Jun Mo begged for his life, but it was too late. Gi Jun didn't stop. He ended it. At the same moment, Bong's son tried calling Jun Mo, but it was Gi Jun who answered. Panicked and desperate, Bong's son tried to explain that Jun Mo wasn't the one who killed Gizuk. But Gi Jun no longer cared. His revenge was complete, and he told Bong's son that his son had been dealt with according to the rules. Sometime later, as Gi Jun drove across a quiet bridge, a white car came out of nowhere, slamming into him head-on. The impact sent his vehicle crashing through the barrier and plunging into the river below. Shortly after, a man named Shimane stood calmly on that same bridge, staring down at the water. He made a brief call and gave a cold report that Gi Jun has been taken care of. Then the story flashed back, revealing the truth behind Gizuk's final moments. He hadn't been killed by street punks. He had faced a professional, Shimane, a trained assassin. Gizuk, already bleeding from stomach wound, tried to fight back. But he was weakened. Shimane, using a small, razor-sharp blade, moved with deadly precision. One cut slashed Gizuk's arm. Then came the final blow, a clean slice to the throat, followed by a stab to a vital point. Gizuk collapsed, dying within minutes. Soon after, Seoul arrived and called it in to the authorities. Back in the present, rescue teams pulled Gi Jun's car from the river, but there was no sign of his body. What they didn't know was that Haebom had already acted, pulling Gi Jun from the wreck and rushing him to Dr. Lee's clinic for emergency treatment. After Jun Mo's death, Bong Sun called Ju Won for a face-to-face meeting. Ju Won arrived offering his condolences, but Bong Sun wasn't there for sympathy. He was there for answers. Without hesitation, Bong Sun handed over the investigation files, recordings from Seoul's phone. The evidence was clear. Seoul had been paid off by someone linked to a shell company owned by the Jawon Group. For Bong Sun, the pieces now fit. He accused Ju Won of never intending to pass leadership to Gizuk. Instead, he believed Ju Won had arranged his death, used Jun Mo to trigger Gi Jun's revenge, then tried to eliminate Gi Jun, all to secure the future for his own son. The accusation set Ju Won off. He exploded with anger, denying every word. The room turned into a war of words, two former allies now fully at odds. Then Bong Sun made it official. The peace was over. Only one of them would survive what came next. Right after, Ju Won gathered his top men to prepare for war. The Bong Sun gang was coming, and he wasn't backing down. But Bong Sun wouldn't get the chance to strike first. As he headed to a secret meeting spot with his inner circle, prosecutors suddenly stormed the location. Officers poured in, making arrests on the spot. At the same time, Bong Sun Group's headquarters was raided. Documents were seized. Executives were detained. Shortly after, Bong Sun's trusted man, Hyun Suk, rushed in with urgent news. The crackdown had begun. He urged Bong Sun to run before the prosecutors reached him. Meanwhile, at the prosecutor's office, Gum Sun faced pressure of his own. His superior, Min Sung, demanded a decision. Without hesitation, Gum Sun laid down arrest and seizure warrants, targeting his own father. His plan was clear: bring down Ju Won and dismantle the Jawon Group from the inside. Min Sung was stunned. He never imagined Gum Sun would turn against one of the most feared men in the underworld, his own father. Elsewhere, Ju Won confronted Young Do, demanding answers about the evidence Bong Sun had uncovered. Ju Won believed only one man could have pulled the strings: Young Do, the master manipulator. But Young Do denied it. Instead, he pointed the blame toward Gum Sun, saying the one person smart and resourceful enough to pull this off was Ju Won's own son. The thought hit Ju Won hard. He was furious at the suggestion. But Young Do gave a cold warning: be careful with the people closest to you. Days later, Gi Jun, now fully healed, quietly left Dr. Lee's clinic without a word. In a quiet park, he reunited with Haebom, who returned Gizuk's personal items, including his luxury car. Not long after, Gi Jun met with Seong-won. His next move was clear. He gave the order: find out who was behind the crash on the bridge. That night, Gum Sun returned home and was shocked to find his father waiting in his room. Ju Won had figured it out. His son had planted the wiretap. He believed Young Do had twisted Gum Sun into trying to steal his empire. But Gum Sun calmly pushed back. He said it wasn't about power. He was just doing his job, and he understood why his father had kept him out of the Jawon Group. Days later, Ju Won made his move. He officially declared war on the Bong Sun gang and gave the order: wipe them out. Every last member, including Bong Sun. At the same time, Bong Sun, now in hiding, got the message. He tried to run, but the Jawon gang was already closing in. In response, Hyun Suk urged him to escape. With only Dong Kyung by his side, Bong Sun attempted to break through the ambush. But the odds were against them. Dong Kyung was killed in the clash. Elsewhere, Hyun Suk took a separate escape route and ran into two Jawon men. They let him go without a fight. The message was clear. Hyun-suk had already switched sides. Wounded and cornered, Bong-sun tried to hold his ground, but he had nothing left. Then Ju-won arrived. He told his men to leave the room. This was personal. Ju-won apologized. He said he had no choice. Just like Bong-sun had once done for his son, he now had to protect his own. In their world, loyalty turned into betrayal overnight, and survival meant making the first move. Then, without hesitation, Ju-won drove the blade into Bong-sun, ending it. After the dust settled, Ju-won and his men quietly left the scene. From the shadows, Hyun-suk watched them disappear. He pulled out his phone and called Young-do, delivering the news. Bong-sun was dead. What Hyun-suk didn't know was that he'd been played. Young-do had promised him control of the Bong-san gang in exchange for betrayal. But in truth, Hyun-suk was just another piece in Young-do's larger game. Gizuk's death had only been the beginning. Then came Jun Mo, now Bong-sun. Young-do's plan was unfolding step by step. The final target, Ju-won. Once he was gone, Young-do would take everything. The next day, Gi Jun went to Ju-won and asked if he was the one behind the assassination attempt. Ju-won didn't dodge. Instead, he told him the real story about Young-do. Years ago, Young-do was a police officer recruited in secret by Chairman Oh. He leaked police intel and helped cover up gang operations. After Chairman Oh's fall, Young-do didn't fade away. He stayed in the shadows, working with Ju-won and Bong-sun, growing rich and more dangerous. He knew their secrets, their weaknesses, and started pulling strings behind the scenes. Then came the final truth. Ju-won revealed that it was Young-do who had manipulated Gizuk into killing Chairman Oh's son all those years ago. With no one left to trust, Ju-won made one last request. He asked Gi Jun to take his place. But Gi Jun refused, just like before. He wanted no part in the world that had already taken so much. All he wanted now was peace. Ju-won then played a recording, an old conversation between Gizuk and Young-do. He told Gi Jun that everything that happened 11 years ago might have been part of Young-do's master plan to destroy Chairman Oh's empire from within. Gi Jun didn't ask questions. He just wanted one thing, Young-do's location. Ju-won didn't have to say it, but the message was clear. He wanted Gi Jun to finish what he couldn't. From a distance, Song Cheol watched the meeting unfold. Without a word, he made a quiet phone call. Then came a flashback. Hyun-suk had visited Young-do at a secret hideout. That day, Young-do told him the truth. He had cleared out all the weak links and chosen Hyun-suk to lead what remained of the Bong-san gang. Soon after, Song Cheol arrived. Hyun-suk assumed he was next in line to lead the Ju-won group after Gizuk's death. But then, the Real surprise stepped forward, Gum-san. Young-do didn't hesitate. He announced that Gum-san would take control of the Ju-won group. The two shook hands, forming a hidden alliance to wipe out both Bong-sun and Ju-won. It was the final reveal. Ju-won had been right from the start. Young-do had set everything in motion, slowly turning Gum-san against his own father, so that, in the end, Young-do could take it all. In the present, Young-do stepped into a parking lot, only to be ambushed by Gi Jun. Without warning, Gi Jun lunged and wrapped his hands around Young-do's neck, ready to end it right there. But just before he could finish the job, someone intervened. It was Tae-hwan, the legendary bodyguard of Chairman Oh, once feared by all, now back from prison. Turns out, Young-do had visited him behind bars and arranged his release, hiring him as protection. Young-do had expected Ju-won to send Gi Jun after him, and now his backup plan was in place. A quick fight broke out in the lot. But when Tae-hwan noticed they were right outside a police station, he pulled Young-do away and escaped before things got worse. The next day, Gi Jun gave Song-won one final order: find Young-do. Song-won hesitated, not wanting trouble with the law. But Gi Jun promised this would be the last favor. After this, he would disappear for good. Meanwhile, at Ju-won Group headquarters, Ju-won prepared for a high-level board meeting. But just before it began, he was stunned. Gum-sun walked in and calmly announced he'd be taking his father's seat. Ju-won snapped and struck his son with his code in anger. But Gum-sun stood his ground. He revealed everything, his alliance with Young-do, and his resentment for being pushed aside by his own father. At that moment, Ju-won tried to defend himself. Everything he did, he claimed, was to protect his son. He never wanted Gum-sun to live the same brutal life, one filled with fear, guilt, and sleepless nights. But Gum-sun didn't see it that way. He had always looked up to his father and was ready to face the cost of that path. Before walking out, Gum-sun handed Ju-won a search and seizure warrant. That's when the real shock hit. Song Cheol had switched sides and was now backing Gum-sun. Elsewhere, Young-do was already making his next move. He called Tae-hwan and told him to take the car. It wasn't random. Young-do had planned for Gi Jun to track him. By using the graveyard network, Song-won quickly picked up the car's location and passed it on to Gi Jun. Back at the Ji-won group, Gum-sun entered the boardroom. The executives were stunned to see him walk in, side by side with Song Cheol. Whispers filled the room. They knew what was happening. A coup. Gum-sun didn't deny it. He stood tall and announced that anyone who didn't support him would be removed from the company. One executive stood up and refused. He left the room, but moments later, screams echoed from a hallway. He had been attacked. Gum-sun turned to the others and made himself clear. He wasn't like his father. While Ju-won kept his hands clean, Gum-sun wouldn't. If something had to be done, he would do it himself. No hesitation, no mercy. Meanwhile, in a quiet basement parking lot, Gi Jun arrived to find Tae-hwan waiting, ready to settle a score that had been brewing for over a decade. Both men were once legends in the underworld, feared for their brutal combat skills. But there was unfinished business between them. 11 years ago, Gi Jun had severed Tae-hwan's wrist in a brutal fight, but chose to spare his life. That mercy had haunted Tae-hwan ever since. Living with a permanent injury, he saw it as a mark of shame. Now, he wanted closure. Gi Jun didn't want to fight, but he knew there was no way around it. This had to end. The fight was raw and unforgiving. Age and injuries had slowed them, but neither held back. Tae-hwan pinned Gi Jun more than once, but each time, Gi Jun came back harder, pushing through pain with relentless will. Still, something was missing. Tae-hwan's strikes lacked fury. He wasn't driven by hate. Deep down, he knew Gi Jun wasn't the one truly responsible for Chairman Oh's death. Over the years, he had come to see the burden Gi Jun had carried. That hesitation cost him the fight. Gi Jun took control, finally bringing Tae-hwan down. In his final moments, Tae-hwan didn't beg or curse. He handed Gi Jun a number, Young-do's direct line. The last piece of the puzzle. One final path to settle everything. At the same time, Ju-won was in his office, waiting, armed and ready. He was done playing games. Tonight, he planned to end it all by killing Young-do. He blamed him for dragging Gum-sun into a world he was never meant to be part of. When Young-do arrived, words turned to violence. The two men, once allies, fought with everything they had. Each was out for blood. Ju-won gained the upper hand and went in for the kill with a knife. But Young-do moved fast, grabbing a gun from the floor and pulling the trigger. Ju-won dropped, dead. That night, Gi Jun arrived at Ju-won's home. He found a body in the office, lifeless, slumped over the desk. Moments later, police swarmed in and arrested him. Behind them came Young-do, now wearing a police uniform. It was all part of his plan, frame Gi Jun for the murder. When Gum-sun heard the news, he didn't react. No tears, no emotion. But deep inside, the shock hit hard. His father was gone. Young-do thought everything was under control. With Ju-won out of the way, his plan was almost complete. But he had missed something. Gum-sun had planted a listening device in the office. And now, he knew the truth. It wasn't Gi Jun who killed Ju-won. It was Young-do. At the police station, Gi Jun confronted Young-do and demanded answers about Gizuk. Young-do didn't hold back. He said Gizuk's death was inevitable the moment Ju-won chose him as successor. That decision had sealed his fate. Then Young-do twisted the knife further, suggesting he hadn't acted alone and even trying to push Gi Jun into killing Gum-sun next. The manipulation wasn't over, but neither was the fight for the truth. Sometime later, a separate investigation unit showed up at the station with a transfer order for Gi Jun. But something felt off. During the ride, Gi Jun sensed the truth. He wasn't being taken to prison. They were planning to kill him along the way. As the vehicle entered a tunnel, Gi Jun struck first. A violent fight broke out inside the moving van. The struggle ended with the vehicle flipping and crashing hard. Gi Jun survived. So did one of the dirty officers who pulled a gun and tried to finish the job. But before he could shoot, a truck came out of nowhere, slamming into him and ending it instantly. Moments later, Seoul arrived on the scene. He revealed that Young-do had called him earlier, giving a direct order: clean up the mess and make sure Gi Jun didn't walk away. But Seoul made his choice. He told Young-do that Gi Jun was dead, but it was a lie. Then he revealed the deeper truth. Young-do had been working in a secret police division for the past 11 years. A man hidden in plain sight, using both sides to build power. When Gi Jun asked why Seoul helped him, he didn't explain. He simply smiled, handed Gi Jun's phone and signature pipe, then said he was leaving the country for good. His part in the war was over. Elsewhere, Seoul was boiling with rage after discovering the truth. Young-do had murdered his boss. He swore he'd take revenge, but Gum-sun stepped in, warning him to stand down. Young-do still held sensitive files tied to the Jun group, and any rash move could destroy them all. The next day, everything began to unravel. Prosecutors raided police headquarters, targeting the secret unit Young-do had been running for years. They seized files, equipment, and personal records, evidence of deep corruption and illegal ties to the Bongsin gang. When Young-do heard the news, he lost control. He called Gum-sun in a fury, demanding answers. But Gum-sun stayed calm. He revealed that he knew everything, that Young-do had killed his father. All this time, Gum-sun had planned to push Jun out eventually. But Young-do had ruined it all by striking first. And for that, Gum-sun couldn't forgive him. Young-do scrambled to cover it up, calling it a mistake. But Gum-sun didn't care. He ended the call. Now panicked, Young-do reached out to Shimane. No answer, just a voicemail. Desperate, he left a message, warning Shimane to call back, or risk being handed to Interpol. But it was already too late. Shimane had switched sides. He had struck a deal with Gum-sun. In exchange for protection, he now worked for him, carrying out quiet assassinations as part of Gum-sun's new rise to power. The story jumps back 8 months, to the moment Gum-sun first confronted Young-do with a search warrant in hand. That day, Gum-sun laid out his true plan, to merge the Jun and Bongsin gangs and take full control. He admitted that using Jun Mo to kill Gizuk was all part of his strategy. What Gum-sun didn't know was that Young-do had secretly recorded the entire conversation and saved it to a portable drive. Meanwhile, at the port, Seoul was preparing to escape to Russia. But the ship he was counting on never showed. Growing tense, he sent Young-sik out of the car to investigate. As he sat alone, thinking over everything he'd done, a man suddenly attacked him. A brutal fight broke out inside the car. Seoul fought back hard and killed the attacker. But the danger wasn't over. Breathing heavily, Seoul called Young-sik for help. But instead of aid, he got betrayal. Young-sik pulled a knife and stabbed him, ending his life. Then, he calmly reported the kill to Seoul. Once again, it was all part of Gum-sun's plan. He wasn't just taking power, he was clearing the board of anyone who might one day challenge him. Elsewhere, Gi Jun had tracked down Young-do's hideout. He moved in fast, tearing through Young-do's men without breaking a sweat. But just as he neared his target, a new threat stepped in, Shimane. The assassin hadn't come to protect Young-do, he had come to kill him. But first, he had to deal with Gi Jun. Shimane was fast, precise, and deadly. He quickly overpowered Gi Jun and revealed the truth. He was the one who killed Gizuk. Then he pulled out the same blade he had used that day. Gi Jun was exhausted, barely able to stay on his feet. Shimane went in, unleashing a brutal series of strikes. But then something unexpected happened. Gi Jun grabbed the blade with his bare hand, stopping the attack cold. Wounded but still burning with rage, Gi Jun countered with everything he had left. With the knife still buried in his palm, he launched a furious attack. Then, with one final move, he yanked the blade free and drove it straight into Shimane's neck, hitting the same spot Shimane had once used to kill his brother. Meanwhile, inside a quiet church, Gum-sun gathered Hyun-suk and Min-sung. He laid out the next phase of his plan: transform the town square into a legal stronghold for their operations. A place where no one could touch them again. Gum-sun admitted he could never have done it as Lee Ju-won's son. But now, as a prosecutor, he could finish what no gangster ever could. Elsewhere, Young-do was losing control. News had reached him. Gi Jun had killed Shimane and was on his way. The walls were closing in. Moments later, Gi Jun entered the room. Young-do didn't hesitate. He fired, hitting Gi Jun in the arm. But Gi Jun didn't stop. He dropped several flash drives to the floor, evidence of everything. Desperate, Young-do tried to twist the situation. He offered Gi Jun power. Kill Gum-sun, take the square, and rule it all. But Gi Jun didn't care about power. Never had. All he ever wanted was peace, and Young-do had destroyed that. He told Young-do that instead of making deals, he should be begging to live. Enraged, Young-do shot Gi Jun again, this time in the shoulder. He raised his gun, ready to end it with a shot to the head. But before he could pull the trigger, Gi Jun threw a handful of papers into his face, buying just a second. Gi Jun lunged, slamming Young-do. Young-do scrambled, reaching for a knife hidden under the couch, but Gi Jun moved faster. He knocked it away, then turned it on him. Gi Jun didn't stop there. He cut through Young-do's fingers, then slashed his ankle to keep him down. And finally, he drove the blade deep into Young-do's neck, ending everything once and for all. Several days later, Gi Jun arrived at the church to attend Ju-won's funeral. He came in silence, ready to pay his last respects. As he approached, Gum-sun stepped forward, unapologetic, and admitted that he was the one who sent Shimane to kill him. Gi Jun asked the reason. Instead of answering, Gum-sun asked his own question: why did Gi Jun reject his father's offer to lead the Jun group? He couldn't understand how someone could walk away from power while others were willing to kill for it. Gi Jun and his brother had been handed everything, yet treated it like it meant nothing. Gi Jun didn't explain. He didn't need to. He simply told Gum-sun that he would be the last. But out of respect for Ju-won, he would wait until after the funeral. Before leaving, Gi Jun placed Ju-won's pipe on the coffin, one final goodbye. The next day, Gi Jun went to the columbarium. He stood before Gizuk's ashes and quietly apologized. He promised they would be together soon. Before walking away, he handed Haebom a portable drive. He told him to leave this life behind, to survive and carry on what needed to be finished. Gi Jun wanted at least one of them to live a better life. Meanwhile, at the prosecutor's office, Gum-sun met with his superior, Sang-suk. The meeting wasn't friendly. Gum-sun came armed, with evidence of Sang-suk's corruption and money laundering. He gave him a choice: help or be exposed. Gum-sun demanded official backing to take over the Bong-sin gang and merge it with Jun Group under his command. He had already taken control of De Crow Hotel, now renamed JW De Crow. And while Song Cheol remained the public face of Jun, everyone knew the truth. Real power now belonged to Gum-sun. Meanwhile, Haebom went to an internet cafe and opened the drive Gi Jun had left him. What he found changed everything. After reading through the files, he called Yoon with two instructions: expose Gum-sun's crimes to the media and submit a hit request. This was his way of avenging Gizuk. That same night, Gum-sun threw a lavish banquet in the grand ballroom of JW De Crow Hotel. The event marked the official merger of the Jun and Bongsin groups. Standing before the crowd, Gum-sun declared himself the new CEO of Jun Group. He unveiled his plan, a future where their criminal profits will be made clean through legal systems. No more hiding, no more masks. He promised to turn the square into a place where there was no line between light and shadow, just control. The Attorney General, seated at the main table, clapped along, clearly impressed by the ambition, even though there were no real results yet. As Gum-sun raised his glass, he believed everything was falling into place. But the celebration didn't last. Minutes later, Min-sung rushed to the Attorney General with urgent news. An explosive story had just gone viral online, exposing Gum-sun's corruption. Without hesitation, the Attorney General stood up and left the venue, unwilling to be seen with Gum-sun as the scandal hit full force. It was revealed that the recording of Gum-sun's secret meeting with Young Do had been exposed across national media. In seconds, the truth was out, his crimes exposed for all to hear. Business elites and government officials who had proudly joined his banquet now scrambled to escape, terrified of being linked to him. A major TV network aired the story nationwide, playing the damning audio for millions. The backlash was swift. The prosecutor's office stripped Gum-sun of all authority and filed official charges, extortion, conspiracy, and more. Inside the hotel, chaos followed. Min-sung, realizing the empire was collapsing, began laughing at Gum-sun's downfall. But that laugh was cut short. Gum-sun, consumed by rage, beat him to death. Song Cheol, still trying to salvage what little remained, told Gum-sun to flee. But Gum-sun, blinded by pride and fury, refused. That pushed Song Cheol over the edge. He snapped, furious that Gum-sun had destroyed everything they'd built. All their sacrifices wasted. Just then, the final reckoning arrived. Gi Jun stepped into the hall. Gum-sun's men moved to stop him, but Song Cheol held up a hand. He told them to let him through. And as Gi Jun approached, Song Cheol did one last thing. He bowed, calm, respectful. At that moment, Song Cheol made one last attempt to stop Gi Jun, urging him to walk away. But it was useless. Gi Jun was set on finishing what he began. Accepting the outcome, Song Cheol quietly led him toward Gum-sun's location. But then, without warning, Song Cheol struck. He stabbed Gi Jun from behind, trying to end him right there. A fierce struggle broke out. Song Cheol pinned Gi Jun against the wall, claiming he was only doing his duty. With a sharp turn, Gi Jun reversed the hold and drove a blade straight into Song Cheol's chest. As life slipped away, Song Cheol urged him to finish it. Barely standing, Gi Jun pushed forward, step by step, toward the final battleground, Ju-won's old residence. Inside, waiting in his father's office, was Gum-sun. Seated in Ju-won's chair, calm and ready, he pointed a gun straight at Gi Jun. The end had finally come. Gi Jun stood there, bloodied but steady, and asked what it felt like, sitting in the leader's chair after sacrificing everything to get there. Gum-sun didn't deny the truth. It wasn't the triumph he had imagined. And now, it was all about to disappear. Gi Jun told him that everyone reaches the same point. They claw their way to the top, thinking it will bring meaning. But once they arrive, all they find is emptiness, because there's nowhere left to go but down. Gum-sun stood and confessed that the thing he loved most wasn't the power or the money. It was the fight. The rush. The way people looked at him when he won. He admitted he had always looked up to his father, who seemed to command admiration from everyone around him. But Gi Jun saw it differently. That wasn't admiration. It was fear, and fear always comes with a price. Ju-won had known that too. That's why he tried so hard to keep Gum-sun out of this life, so he wouldn't be crushed by the same weight. Gum-sun asked one last time why Gi Jun had gone this far. But Gi Jun gave no answer. Instead, he rose to his feet and pulled out a knife. Without hesitation, Gum-sun fired, hitting him in the gut. Gi Jun didn't flinch. He stood tall, daring him to fire again. That moment broke something in Gum-sun. He finally saw the truth behind his father's words. This life had never been power or glory. It had always been pain. He admitted the gangster world was never truly his. He wasn't made for it. Ready to end it, Gum-sun raised the gun to his own head. But Gi Jun moved first, slashing his wrist, then driving the blade into his neck. As blood poured, Gi Jun ordered him to beg. But Gum-sun said nothing. He chose to die without regret. Eventually, Gi Jun turned and walked away, leaving Gum-sun to die in the very chair where Ju-won had taken his last breath. The legacy ended where it began, in blood. Not long after, Gi Jun returned to the campsite where it had all begun. The place where Gizuk once came to him, full of hope, wanting to leave the underworld behind and start a quiet life, running a campground. Gi Jun had welcomed the plan. They were going to build something better, together. But that future was gone. Gizuk was gone. And Gi Jun knew his time was nearly up too. With the war behind him and nothing left to fight for, Gi Jun finally let the weight hit him. He sat in silence and broke down, grieving the brother he had lost. By morning, snow covered the ground. Gi Jun sat alone in his chair. Still, cold, no breath, no sound. Only the wind moving gently through the trees. And just like that, the story ended. So the moral of the story is, always let your brother open that campground, because if you don't, you might end up fighting the entire Korean underworld with a baseball bat.